Thank you, students. Today I start a new chapter, heat. Heat it is a one type of energy. When any object or substance takes heat, it turns hot. When an object leaves heat, then it turns cool. Also, heat energy can flow from one body to the another body. Heat flows from the hot body to the cold body. So what will be the definition of heat? Definition of heat will be: heat is one type of energy whose absorption turns a body hot and extraction turns a body cool, and it can flow from one body to another body owing their temperature. Here also, every object have more or less amount of heat. Even a very cold object also have some amount of heat. Now the question is, what is the source of the heat of an object? Every object is made by atoms and molecules. The subatomic particles of inside the atom have electrostatic force between them. Atoms and another atom have the interaction force, which is known as the cohesive force. Molecules to molecules, there is also cohesive force. The interaction force, the interaction of these force, due to this interaction of these force, the atoms and molecules have potential energy. And also inside the atom, electrons revolves around the nucleus. Also electrons spins around its axis. Also the atoms are itself vibrating, molecules also vibrating. So the subatomic particles or the atoms and molecules have their own vibrating motion, rotatory motion, or the translatory motion. Due to those motion, the atoms and molecules have internal kinetic energy. So the atoms and molecules have internal kinetic energy and potential energy. This total kinetic and potential energy internally is known as internal energy of the object, and this internal energy of the object is the source of the heat energy. Now the atoms and molecules constitute the body of or the system of body. These atoms and molecules possess potential energy due to their interaction and relative positions, interaction of the forces and relative positions. They have also kinetic energy due to their vibratory motion, rotatory motion, or translational motion. The sum of these internal energy, that means sum of kinetic energy and potential, the internal kinetic energy and internal potential energy, is the source of heat energy of that object. Now the heat is subdivided into two categories according to their function. Some heat is used for changing the temperature of the object, which is known as the sensible heat. Also some heat amount heat is used for state change, which is known as latent heat. Heat which changes the temperature of the body is called the sensible heat. Heat which changes the physical state of the substance without any change of temperature is called the latent heat. Latent heat changes the state of the object. It does not change the temperature. Now, a very important part, principle of calorimetry. What is the principle of calorimetry? We know that the hot object loses heat and the cold object gains heat. When hot object loses heat, its temperature decreases, and when cold object gains heat, its temperature increases. So, when the several bodies at different temperatures are brought into thermal contact means not physically contact, thermal contact with each other, they will exchange heat among themselves, and ultimately they reaches at a same temperature, and this condition is known as the thermal equilibrium condition. That means in thermal equilibrium condition, the temperature of all the objects in the system will be equal. Before it, hot object loses heat and the cold object gains heat. And if during this process the three conditions like this, the system of the bodies remains isolated thermally to the surroundings. That means no heat reaches to the system from the surroundings, or no heat goes out from the system to the surroundings. No chemical reaction takes place between those bodies, and also no solution is produced. If these three conditions are maintained, then heat lost by the hot body is equal to heat gained by the cold body. This is the principle of calorimetry. Now, physical effects of heat. There are three physical effects. That means one is the change of temperature. That means heat can change the temperature. Heat can change the state of the substance. Heat can change the dimension of the object. Dimension means it can change the length, breadth, height. It can change the volume. It can change the surface area. These are this. Now, change of temperature. Already we know that temperature increases when heat is given to the object. Also, temperature decreases when heat is taken out from the object. But the quantity of heat absorbed or given out by the object depending on the three factors. That means how much amount of heat is gained or how much amount of heat is lost by the object. It depends on the three factors. Which are these factors? Factors are, one is the mass, another is the change of temperature, another is the specific heat capacity. Mass is directly proportional to the mass. That means heat loss or heat gain is directly proportional to the mass. Heat loss or heat gain is also directly proportional to the change of temperature, which is indicated by delta T, and also the heat gain or heat loss is directly proportional to the specific heat capacity S. So the heat loss or heat gained is measured by the product of mass, change of temperature, and specific heat capacity. This is the formula for calculating the amount of heat loss or amount of heat gain. Thank you.